Okay, so let's see how do I start this off. So a couple of years ago, I found out about a woman back in the early 1900s, and how she was trying to seek justice for her husband who was lynched, who was accused of some type of crime and who was lynched. Her name was Mary Turner. And after speaking out about it, a crowd of people, not melanated, lynched this woman, and by grabbing her, removing her from her home, hung her by her feet. She was pregnant at the time. I believe she was 8 months, maybe even 9 months pregnant. Hung her by her feet, set her on fire, and cut her belly open, removed her child, and stumped her child to death, as well as killing her. After finding out about this story, I started to just wanting to know more about lynchings. So I kept watching documentaries, read a couple of books about lynching, W.E.B. Du Bois initiative, as well as Ida B. Wells initiatives, the books that she wrote about the lynchings that were going on. For me, that wasn't enough. Came across the Equal Justice Initiative, and learned about the lynching memorial that they were creating. And at the time, it was not open, and I had anticipated on going there. Well, I ended up going there maybe about 2 months after they opened. Only 2 months after they opened. I drove down to Alabama, 15 hours from where I live, and let me just tell you, it was phenomenal. It was, I want to say 2 years ago. Whatever it opened, and I can't for the life of me figure out in my head right now while I'm driving what year it opened, but whatever year it opened, and I believe it was either 2017 or 2018. I want to say 2018 that it opened. I felt compelled to go. And I went right after they opened, a couple of months after they opened. And again, it was just amazing. So going there, I thought that was going to be enough to try to understand why things are the way that they are. No, that was not the case. So this year, a girlfriend and I, we decided to go back down south, I know I just said that, back down south, to, get some more questions answered, get some history about our people, what our people have gone through. And the benefit for her was just to get a broad picture of what people were going through, because she did her ancestry, which was really cool. She did her ancestry and found that her family were in the Delmarva area. So most of her family either, and I hate to say it, were, as soon as they got off the boat, they remained here in the area. So they didn't really do the Great Migration because they were here already, which is really cool. So she could do a lot of investigation and a lot of homework to gain information about her family in the direct area. Myself, however, I don't have that opportunity because I know that most of my family are still down south and came from the down south. I'm only the second generation to live in Delaware. That's where I live now. To live in the Northeast. My grandmother came up here. Matter of fact, both sides of my grandparents, my parents' came from down south during the Great Migration. So a lot of the history is down there. So I go there. I decide to go there. Maybe I can find some history to find out what we went through, because after going last year to the lynching memorial, it just did not feel like enough. So I decided to go back. My girlfriend and I went down there, went back. We went to South Carolina, we went to Georgia, and we went back to Alabama, or I went back to Alabama. And in South Carolina, one of the reasons why I went to South Carolina is because doing research on ancestry, and I had, at this time I did not take an ancestry test, doing research on ancestry.com and getting information from my mother and her siblings, I knew that my grandfather came from down south, in possibly Alabama or South Carolina. Later on I found out it was South Carolina. And another thing, my grandmother used to always say, we Geechee. Found out that Geechee Gullah people were in South Carolina. Although most of her family, up to from her grandfather that she knew, who was enslaved in 1830, lived in Georgia. So let me just recap. Although I found out that my grandfather on my mom's side came from South Carolina, my grandmother on my mom's side came from Georgia. So those were the two states that we knew about. And again, going back to Alabama, just to learn about more injustices down south. So we go down there, we go to the Low Country, we go to Beaufort County, learn so many things, and it was so amazing. One of the most amazing things, and if you recall, I started this out based on a story about Mary Turner. I did a ceramic piece about Mary Turner, and a lot of the things that I endure or I experience, it is through my art. So we are in South Carolina in the low end, and we go to the center, and I cannot for the life of me remember the name of the center. We go to this center in South Carolina, and there are all of these artists, and one of the way the genre of this art is, it's nothing but color, and the people are black and faceless. There's no detail to their face. It's just a black color. But the things that they're wearing is so beautiful, so many colors. And I cried. The reason why I cried is because as a child, I have been always creating, and I've always been drawing and things like that since I was a child. Those were the kind of drawings I used to create. So for me to see that on the wall, and for me to see those pictures, was just amazing to me. And keep in mind, when I was a child, we didn't have the internet. We had public television, but it wasn't a representation of us. So those connections were just, somehow they were there. And as a child, I didn't get to see that type of artwork from South Carolina. So for me to be creating something I've never saw was just amazing to me, and I cried. I'm not even gonna lie, I cried. Well, anyway, to cut the whole story short of that, the second pilgrimage. I went to the second pilgrimage down south again to find out, I guess to find out something missing. And I kept feeling like there was something missing. And going to the low country to South Carolina, it helped a little bit, but it still wasn't enough. Like the first trip, it wasn't enough. Second trip, it wasn't enough. So moving forward, I kept continuing to look into my ancestry. The furthest I got back was 1810 on my father's side, and it didn't go too far. So I always had this longing, okay, I need to find out more. So I finally broke down and took the ancestry test. I didn't want to do it for the longest time. I didn't want to do it for the longest time. And everyone knows why, because everyone's afraid that their DNA is going to be out there for years and people are going to do something with the DNA. But again, I still had that longing. I still had that need to find out, where am I from? Knowing that I was from Georgia when my great grandfather Alexander was enslaved and was born in 1830 something, because of course they didn't keep birth records back then, especially for us black folks. To me, that still was not freaking enough. So I took the ancestry test. Finally got the test back. Come to find out, of course, I'm like most enslaved. I am like most descendants of the enslaved. In the Americas, North America, I am of West African descent, mostly Nigerian, Cameroon, and Mali, which was kind of surprising to me. But those three countries. So I'm like, okay, cool. Still got to find out more. Let me start getting information about these countries, because I don't know anything about it. So as I'm getting more information about these countries, reading books, watching documentaries by great people from Africa who are posting them on YouTube, it's just freaking amazing. And if you get the opportunity, I would watch them. But watching them, it was like, oh my God, the history that we had and was never taught to us in school is particularly, I know not to me, never taught to us in school, learning about different empires and things like that. The history that we came from that was so interrupted because of the slave trade is just amazing. And I want to learn more. But how do I learn more? Now, that's the thing. Although I want to learn more, I do know about civil unrest. I do know about the social inequities, social inequities in West Africa. So at this time, I do not want to go to West Africa. However, I want to go to Africa, and just to be on the motherland. And with that said, in this long story that just went everywhere, I know, don't have a script, just talking to you. With that said, I plan on going to Africa next month, and along with the young lady, my girlfriend that went with me to the South. So what I'm going to start doing, and I'm not going to reveal the country yet until I buy my ticket. I'm going to start doing is doing a timeline of the preparation of going, and also actually landing in that country. I haven't bought my ticket yet, but I plan on doing that next week. But it's just not enough right now. I think for me, I can read all the books in the world. I can watch so many documentaries. Until I'm on that land, until I experience the natural phenomenon, which is Africa, I don't think it will ever be enough until I'm there. I will always have that longing. So stay tuned. I'll let you know. Hopefully next week, the name of the country that I'm going to, and some of the things that I'm going to have to go through as far as getting there, is given the fact that we had this pandemic going on, and some of the restrictions that may occur before we can even leave this country. But yeah, decided to go to Africa because learning information here is just not enough for me at this point in time in my lifetime. So, thank you.